Hello, everyone, and welcome to HCAM Sports Talk. I'm your host, Tom Nappy. And today we have many happenings going on throughout the professional sports world. As you know, it's NFL free agency, all kinds of New England Patriots news, and of course the Boston Bruins also made some big moves. It's just me today. Unfortunately, the guy's unable to join us this week, but so much is happening. We just had to get you caught up. And as you know, typically the show is an hour. It will be a brief show today as we have a HCAM news special coming up directly following this show. At 6 p.m., you'll be able to check out the Hopkinton High School Science and Engineering Fair. Some bonus HCAM news on the way. But for the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to talk what is going on with your New England Patriots and your Boston Bruins, and maybe throw a couple other things in. But we start off with the New England Patriots. As you know, they got a new coach. Gerard Mayo is gone after last season, which was not a very good year for the Pats. And now they got Mike Vrabel in there. And he is making a lot of moves so far in the NFL free agency period. It's been very interesting, a whole lot of wheeling and dealing. So why don't we check out some of those moves that he has made, several to talk about, and the Patriots really building up the defense. I think it's going to be a totally different looking team next year. With all these moves they're making. It already is. It already is a very different looking team next year. And I expect more moves on the way as well. They didn't do much for the offense yet, but I think that's coming. So I'm not ruling out more moves down the pipe. But here they are right on your screen. They're not in order. They're in order by position, I guess. But they signed Josh Dobbs. He's going to be the new backup quarterback. Jacoby Brissett is out. Brissett is actually, I believe, heading to the Arizona Cardinals. So we'll miss him. Jacoby Brissett, a pretty reliable backup, but they bring in Josh Dobbs. The thing I like about Dobbs is he's been a backup on several different teams, so he has experience in all kinds of different offenses, and he's been a very reliable backup as well. He's come in, and he has the potential to win some games here and there, so a pretty solid backup. And then Mac Hollins agreed to a 2-year, $8.4 million deal that has a max value of $10.4 million. I'll tell you something about Mac Hollins. This guy has tremendous potential to be a huge threat for the New England Patriots. I love that move. I think it's going to be a very nice move for the Patriots. He was big on the Bills last year. He was a fan favorite, and he had a good season as well. So the Patriots bringing in Mac Hollins on a 2-year deal. They're bringing back their tight end, Austin Hooper. Hooper was one of the bright spots of the Patriots last year. It was a year that they didn't have a lot of bright spots. There wasn't a lot of light. But Austin Hooper, he had a good season, so I'm glad they're bringing him back. It's a 1-year, $5 million deal with $4 million guaranteed, and he could earn up to $7 million with bonuses. They're bringing in offensive tackle Morgan Moses. He agreed to a 3-year, $24 million deal worth up to $28.5 million. That's good. They're bolstering up that offensive line. Offensive line was one of the worst offensive lines in the league last year. And, of course, you got Drake May, the rookie quarterback. Well, now he's going to move on to a sophomore season, but he needs protection, and the Patriots couldn't give him much protection last season, and he got pretty beat up. So it's good to see that we got an experienced O-lineman coming in, Morgan Moses, who was on the Jets last year. He's been fantastic. Certainly a worthwhile contract there. And then Mike Vrabel, Coach Vrabel, going back to a guy he's familiar with to set the edge for the Pats. They're bringing in defensive end Harold Landry. Landry, he has experience at end and also linebacker, and he is a great athlete. Had a great season under Vrabel with the Tennessee Titans. He's been one of the best outside linebackers in the league. And this guy, he's a linebacker that can line up like a defensive end, and he puts up the numbers of a defensive end sack wise as well. So he could really make a lot of noise. Harold Landry coming to the Pats on a 3-year, $43.5 million deal with a max value of $48 million. While well worth it there, and you got to expect that Coach Rabel is going to bring in some guys that he is familiar with. And then you got Milton Williams. The critics are saying this might have been the biggest signing for the Pats. Milton Williams is from the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was rated as one of the top prospects available in the free agency period. He's a defensive tackle, and he can make some noise, put up some big numbers. He played about half the time for the Eagles last year, so wasn't a full-time starter. But this is a guy that has huge potential, only 25 years old, so and has also remained pretty healthy as well, so he should have some years left. They bring in Williams on a 4-year, $104 million deal, 51 fully guaranteed, and a $24 million signing bonus. So welcome to the New England Patriots, Milton Williams. And then you got Kairis Tonga signing a 1-year, $2.7 million deal. Another guy that could help bolster up that defensive lineman. And, you're looking at this list of free agencies, right? Or free agent signings right now, and you can see that Coach Vrabel really bolstering up that defensive line and that defense in general. So I think, he's got a lot of the pieces that he wants out of free agency on defense. He'll probably sign one or two more, maybe smaller pieces. But I think next, you're going to see him really go nuts, bolstering up that offense. Another guy they're bringing in, I like this deal. They're bringing in Robert Spillane. He's signing a free agent deal. This guy, he's had experience. He's dealt with some injury issues. I don't believe he played last year because of injury, but he is coming in. He has a lot of experience with the Raiders, had some great seasons, and has big potential. This guy, Robert Spillane, if he stays healthy, he could be a huge boost to that Patriots linebacking core. And I think this guy's going to be more of a backup kind of linebacker or a guy that plays maybe half the time, 40 to 50% of the time, but he could certainly really bolster up that Patriots linebacking core. And you got him on a relatively cheap deal as well. And then another guy they're bringing in, Carlton Davis, who's a cornerback. He has been fantastic. Carlton Davis has had some great seasons. He played for Detroit last year, had a couple interceptions, and he's been pretty healthy throughout his career. But he's a great cornerback. He's a guy that can get turnovers, a guy that can make plays, and a guy that I think is going to be a huge piece of this new and improved New England Patriots defense. Very excited about these signings. I think it's going to be awesome. I like what Coach Vrabel is doing. He's spending money. The Patriots, they had, I think it was the most salary cap available in the league. In fact, I could say it for a fact. On day one of NFL free agency, they spent $122 million, but they had $236 million available. So I think this is what you have to do if you're the New England Patriots after a dreadful 2024 season. You really need to improve this team. And you saw after Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, let Gerard Mayo go after last year, that he's ready for change. He wants his team to win. He wants to get them back in the W column. He wants them to be competing for a playoff spot. He wants them in the playoffs. And really, this is a good time to do it because I am optimistic about Drake May. Think what you want about May, but what happened last year was not his fault. He had no one to throw to. He did not have an offensive line, and this team needed a lot of work. Now, I think this guy has big potential. I think he has a big arm. Drake May can run. He's very athletic. And despite the fact that he had no real good weapons on the field, he still made it work. He was still impressive. So I am very excited to see the Patriots spending money, to see that they're not holding back, to see that they're not waiting for the draft, that they're going into free agency. They're making big signings. I mean, one of the biggest criticisms of the Patriots, mainly under Belichick, but even a little bit, when Mayo came in here last year, and I don't really know if it was Gerard Mayo who had the decisive say on those signings, but the biggest critique was, and where the most criticism came from, was they're not bringing in the most talented guys. They're making a lot of mediocre signings. Where's the big guys? Where's the A plus guys, the guys that the difference makers? You had the money to bring in top linebackers, top defensive ends, top receivers. I mean, look at their offense last year. It was horrible. They didn't, they had no weapons. The receiving core was a train wreck. The only positive from last year's offense was Drake May, who did good, especially with the circumstances he had to deal with, and the tight ends, Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper. Those were the only positives for the Patriots last year offensively, really. The running game was terrible. The receivers were terrible. They were one of the lowest scoring teams in the league. They were unbearable. Absolutely unbearable. And how many of those seasons can you have before people start getting rid of their season tickets? Or maybe stop watching the games. Now, they're not going to stop watching football, but maybe they stop watching the Patriots. As a Patriots fan myself, and I'll speak as the fan. I'm speaking as the analyst, on this show, because that's what I do. I analyze sports on the show. And when the guys are here, they do that too. But speaking from a fan's perspective, I turned off those games. They were absolutely unbearable. And I know that I'm supposed to come here and analyze them, but there was nothing to analyze. They were just bad. What are you going to analyze? They're terrible. They had no receivers. They couldn't score any points. They had a mediocre defense. It even fell off a little bit from the year before, but they were terrible. Those games were unwatchable. And this is a football town. Tom Brady turned this into a football town. He turned this team into championship winners. You cannot have an unbearable product and in this town. You can't. The fans will leave. They'll probably always come back once the team gets good again, but they will leave. They will boo you right off the field. We expect excellence in New England with our football team. We expect, look, we know it's not realistic that they're going to win the Super Bowl every season. We know that. But you at least got to have meaningful games in December and January. And, if you had one or two bad years, fine. But this is what? 4 miserable years? And not just bad, miserable. The year Brady left was, for this team, bad. But they made the playoffs, so it wasn't unbearable. The first year after Brady, where they bring in Cam Newton, unbearable, terrible. First year with Mac Jones, that was probably the best year since Brady. They went, I think it was 9-7, but they go to the first round of the playoffs and get absolutely destroyed by Buffalo. So, all right, they made the playoffs. Maybe they're moving in the right direction. And then the year after that was an absolute train wreck. I think they went like 4-12 or something like that. Finished last place, absolute train wreck. And then the year after that, absolute train wreck. And that was Belichick's last year. That's when they said, all right, you got to go. They have the worst offense in the league. They kept changing coordinators. Josh Daniels left. He took the head coaching job. Fine. That's kind of out of your control. But then you go to Matt Patricia, who not only has no experience coaching an offense, but with the defenses he was coaching, did not do a very good job. So he couldn't even do his job right, which is the defensive side of the ball. And then you bring him in and expect the offense to flourish. Made no sense. Terrible move. So that got Belichick canned, rightfully so. I love Belichick, belongs in the Hall of Fame, but certainly deserved to be canned, absolutely canned over that atrocious Matt Patricia decision. So they get rid of him, and then they bring in Gerard Mayo, who during his time as a linebacker in New England won games. He was fantastic. Did a great job as a linebacker. Won a couple Super Bowls, and then he became a coach under Belichick. And I think he was coaching defensive ends or something like that at first. And then he went to the linebackers. And then he became, I think for 1 year, he was like the assistant defensive coach, but it was Steve Belichick calling the plays. No one really knew who the defensive coordinator was that year, but he doesn't have a lot of experience. So they hire Mayo, first time head coach, and they bring him in to the worst situation you could ever imagine. A team with no offensive line and no defense, an absolute train wreck, totally crashes and burns. And I give Kraft credit for admitting that that experiment with Mayo didn't work. I give him credit. Now I feel bad for Gerard Mayo because he first of all, Mayo needed more years as an assistant coach. I think Mayo could be a good head coach in the future. He has the football knowledge. He's had success in assistant positions, but he doesn't have enough experience to be an NFL head coach. I think he could have it in the future, but he's not ready yet. But I feel bad because, getting fired after 1 year, it is going to make it a lot more difficult for him to get a job as a head coach. If I'm him, I'm looking at assistant roles right now if I want to stay in coaching. I do think he has potential, and I hope he lands on his feet somewhere. I'd love to see him coach again in this, whether it's in this league or in college. I think he could flourish. And despite the fact that the Patriots called him up to the big role too soon, I think it might benefit him knowledge-wise. So it might even help him if he goes back to an assistant role to be a better assistant. So we'll see what happens with him. But, you know, I give credit to Kraft for admitting he was wrong about Mayo. He brings in Vrabel, a guy is experienced in a head coach role, did a nice job in Tennessee, made what was a relatively poor Titans team very competitive for a few years, led him on a couple playoff runs, even got a big win over New England in a crucial game at one point over Brady in New England. So he's had success, and he has the experience, and he has a vision. And I think that's really what sold Kraft into making that decision. When they brought in Vrabel to talk to him and he presented the vision that he had. And clearly he has a vision if you look at what he's doing in free agency. So you bring in the guy with experience and a vision. It needed to be done. Kraft wants his team competitive. Obviously, he's not expecting to win a Super Bowl this year. Could it happen? I hope so, but probably won't. He's not expecting this team to win a Super Bowl. Probably not even expect him to get to the AFC Championship. But I think what he does expect is an improvement. An improvement, that's something that the Patriots haven't seen in the last 4 years. An improvement. Because they haven't been improving. They have been falling flat on their face the last 4 years. And for 3 of those years, they just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So let's hope this is the great turnaround. I'm very excited by what I see so far in free agency, and hopefully more is on the way. I'm excited for the upcoming draft. and we're going to have a lot to talk about on the show. So be sure to stay tuned for future episodes of HCAM Sports Talk. We'll certainly have more in the very near future. Unfortunately, I ran out of time. Couldn't really get to the Bruins today. They're a mess. I'm gonna miss, Marchand. I'm sad that he's gone, but they're an absolute mess. Bruins aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Uh, this year, I think they're just gonna fall on their face, probably not even make the playoffs. They got rid of two huge pieces, so I think they're all done. They're cleaning house. They're clearly waving the white flag. So, not very optimistic about the Bruins, and we'll see what direction they go in. I don't know what they're trying to do. But we'll talk more about that in the very near future as well. We'll certainly have the guys back on soon and have some good discussions about NFL free agency and about the Bruins. So be sure to catch HCAM Sports Talk airing every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Well, most Wednesdays. We do unfortunately have to take some off here and there. We'll have a lot of Hiller sports this spring, so that could affect the schedule as well. But we'll certainly keep you up to date about when all the new episodes of HCAM Sports Talk are going to happen. And don't forget, spring sports coming up on HCAM too. It's about to get crazy. We're going to have a lot of good content, a lot of new shows coming up, so it should be a lot of fun. But for everyone at HCAM, I'm Tom Nappy. We thank you for watching HCAM Sports Talk, and right now we have the latest Hopkinton Hiller happening. To end their regular season, Hopkinton Dover Sherborne Girls Varsity Hockey Co-op hosted Franklin. John Ritz was at the New England Sports Center to stream the action. The game ended in a 1-1 tie. Hopkinton DS ends their regular season with 10 wins, 8 losses, 2 ties, and secured a playoff spot. On Tuesday, February 25th, to start the playoffs, 26-seeded Hiller Boys Basketball hosted 39th-seeded Somerville in a Division II preliminary round matchup. Wally Henneberry and Steve Spector were on the call.
Griffin on him. Gets the ball over to Mitch Simulus. Simulus back out to Williston for the three.
Oh, he'll take it.
Hits it. Williston putting the ball in, looking somewhere deep, gets it over Jackson Canales. And
there it is.
Three for Mitch Simulus. And he has 5 points.
Tough.
A little put it in the out right there underneath the basket on the inbounds play.
Pretty good. That's a pretty
Smooth
6'1"
play.
and plays bigger than that. Oh, that's
Three-pointer for Marcinowski.
that was clutch. Big time.
Big one right there. Get it in. Marcinowski out high. Gets it back over to Dejan. Dejan to Cho. Cho's looking around to Dejan. Back to Cho. Gonna pull things out. Willison for a long three.
Oh!
Hits it. Julie Alstrom back in. Canales is in. Cho's back in. Mitch Simulus in the game. There's August. Over to Cho. Cho's looking. Gets over to Simulus for three. Oh. And he hits it. Big three-pointer for Mitch Simulus. And he's got 8 points.
Hopkinton took the 64-45 win and advanced to the round of 32. Also that Tuesday, 20th seeded Hopkinton visited Canton Ice House for a round of 32 matchup versus 13th seeded Medfield. Here's what happened.
Pearson flying up the ice into the left circle, sends it to the slot. It's deflected away. What a busy period it has been for both goaltenders. Sent up by Beeler. And now along the end boards. And Arthur puts it off a defender, sent out in front. That puck like a ping pong ball in this series just being sent all around. There's a shot, and what a wrister by Michaela McDonald, who finds the seam, sticks side, and pops it in for Medfield with 45 seconds left. That was just a beauty of a score by Michaela McDonald. Sent kind of a saucer-like shot to the net and was able to find the open gap, stick side to make it 1-0 with under a minute left in this first period for the Hiller boys over Somerville. And now there's a shot, and it's turned away. Parker Cathan closed in, snuck in there, took the puck, and tried to wrist one in. And coming away with it's going to be Lucy Jean. Jean working past the defender, into the high slot, wrister, into the end boards it goes, and now along the side of the net, trying to stuff it in, and it's turned away. Along the corner, sent out by Rivera. Back to the blue line, Gone takes a swing and a miss, and it's sent up the ice by Carlson, and that'll do it for the second period. An action-packed ending to the second frame. Congratulations to the Warriors for advancing to the round of 32 in Division III boys basketball. Jammed up along the near side. And that is sent in front of the net and backhanded in. What a feed, what a shot. Lexi Gwindon with an absolutely perfect pass to Leah Carlson, and Carlson backhands it in. McPherson is back after her short break. Jean moves it up, and now the pass out, and it's going to be intercepted by Baby Kelly, and she pops it in from the high slot. That'll give Medfield a 3-0 lead at 6:29 left to go. And it's turned away. And a great stop there, sent up the ice. Into the net it goes. Icing on the cake for the Medfield Warriors. Brooke Riley gets score number 4 for the Warriors.
Hopkinton Dover Sherborne ends their incredible season 10-9-2 as Medfield takes the 4-0 win. On Thursday, February 27th, 19th-seeded Hiller Boys Hockey visited 14th-seeded Falmouth. They would end up falling 4-3 in double overtime. The Hiller Boys ended an incredible season with 9 wins, 10 losses, and 2 ties. Also on Thursday, February 27th, Hiller Boys Basketball played their round of 32 game at 7th-seeded Masconomet. The Hillers fell to Masconomet 77-59. The Hillers ended their season with a very impressive record of 14-8. On Friday, February 28th, 17th-seeded Hiller Girls Basketball visited 16th-seeded Lincoln Sudbury for a round of 32 matchup. It was a good back-and-forth battle, but Lincoln Sudbury took the win 45-39. The Hiller girls end their season with 12 wins and 9 losses. Congratulations to Coach Greco and the team on an incredible season.